Shalom, shalom. To the 144,000, the elect. Before I get started, let me give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Qudash. Double honor to the apostle nails of great millstone. Peace and blessing to the brother that preaching the truth in the four winds of the earth. May Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, have mercy upon you. Alright. Hey, as I speak, Revelation 17 is literally coming off the pages, right? Trump slash America, that whore, which is the whore the Bible speaks of, he's literally deleting its allies daily. Daily. And Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns, which is the European Union / NATO, thou sawest upon the what? The beast. Right? These shall what? Shall hate the whore. So this is exactly what's taking place in the world is not aware of this, and a lot of brothers ain't preaching this because they are what? A lot of brothers don't know how to break down the Revelation, right? And thanks to the men of what? GMS, I've acquired their what? The ability to do such. Because a lot of not to change the subject. I'm gonna get on the subject. Let me get on. So this is Colonel Douglas McGregor, right? Germany, and the name of this video is it's from Technical Creative Channel, right? Germany leaves NATO, and the EU Zelensky flees. The alliance has what? Collapsed. This is according to what? Colonel Douglas McGregor, right? But let me say something before I get to this video. It's another video over here, right? Let me tell you why he's saying this here, right? Germany leaves NATO and EU. Zelensky flees, right? Because over here you got in times of India, right? U.S. unveils new defense strategy, dumps Israel, South Korea, European allies won't protect. But we know that America, I don't know about no Israel, dumping no Israel, because we know that they are literally work hand in hand, them two devils there, right? Because prophecy, the Revelation 17, where prophecy itself is these two, mainly America, which is the whore, but America sits and rides. I mean, Israel, they ride what? Together. And what? And they're going to ride with each other in what? In their end. Right? Because Israel is going to get desolate, right? Destroyed, just like America, but not just like America. America is going to get destroyed with within 1 hour. They're going to get the destruction like no other, right? Which is the lake of fire. But Israel is going to get it too. But Israel is going to be built back up when what? When we come into what? Power and authority of the earth. So that's where I'm at. So this is Colonel Douglas McGregor. Let's get into it.
Union. Here's what needs to be understood. Before everything ends, well, let's put it this way. This war in Ukraine is lost, and that's going to become patently obvious, and the Russians are going to be victorious. They're going to dictate the terms under which the map is redrawn and new actors emerge. But there's something even more important than what happens in Ukraine, and I predict that Germany will walk out of NATO and walk out of the EU, because it's the only way for Germany to liberate itself from the oppressive influence and power of the EU and NATO. Remember, many of your guests have said this, and people always chuckle over it. I always thought it was deeply offensive. and thought it was dead wrong.
But see what Colonel Douglas McGregor don't know. He don't know the scriptures. He don't know the law, the version of the of what's has to happen before what, before the end times. And this is the before the ending time, which is what, which is that whore, which is America and its allies leaving the whore, which is the EU and NATO.
But this was the attitude in Great Britain and France and the United States, and that is NATO exists to keep the Russians out and the Germans down. Well, the Germans are finally emerging from this state of Stockholm syndrome that they've been living in for decades, where the German walks in the room and his head is bowed and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're bad, and we know we're bad, and how much money do you want?" That's over.
Y'all bear with me. They got these commercials, and they got to get their money.
The Germans have had it with that. The new generation that's coming up is sick of it. The alternative for Germany is sick of it. And this Atlantic alliance has not produced security for Germany. It's dragged Germany into a confrontation with Russia that most Germans want nothing to do with. So Germany is going to march out of the EU. It's going to march out of NATO. When that happens, that's the end of NATO and the EU, because the only way they can exist is with Germany as the linchpin, as the keystone in the edifice. Once the Germans say enough and walk, it's over. And that's headed. So this entire war in Ukraine that was launched to destroy Russia and was always linked to the idea, and this goes back to the White House in 2020 when I was in there, and I wrote a paper on it, and it was given to the president, and he just, I don't think he could even imagine it, but it was an argument against disrupting relations with Germany because of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. And I tried to outline the hundreds of years of very profitable and productive relations between Russia and the German-speaking peoples based on an exchange of commodities, commercial.
Russia is God, right? Which is the people, right? Russia is God. Russia is heading the what? This destruction when it comes to what? With America receiving its judgment in the end. So it's not going to look good for America. I mean, the angels are doing their job, right? They are what? They are literally again. They are taking great measures and steps in what? In making their allies enemies to them, which is America, which is the whore. Babylon, confusion. That's America.
Relationships. And the elites actually got along very well. If you go back over the last 300 or 400 years of history involving Germany and Russia, the two world wars are anomalies. They should never have happened. And they did happen. It's tragic that they did. But I think both Germans and Russians have concluded this must not happen again. And Germany will leave the Atlantic Alliance, and it will leave the EU for these very reasons. And all the neocons that have done everything they possibly could to promote death and destruction and war in Eastern Europe and across the continent, these are the same people who have pushed these migrations, heavily funded by people like Soros and others, who couldn't wait to shove millions and millions of people into Europe who are not Europeans, will never be Europeans, cannot become Europeans, and don't want to be Europeans. They are all going to stand around and then begin to say, see, the Germans are evil. They're back at it again. They're evil because they're charting their own course. They've decided on their own future. It's a lot of nonsense. There's no Nazi revival there, nor will there ever be one, in my judgment. But what you see out in eastern Ukraine, for some reason, these same neocons are happy to see these Ukrainian soldiers sport SS.
They got to keep that narrative pushing and running because of who? The small headers, right? And always pushing forward the narratives of them being oppressed. And this, y'all know that that what they that hola, right? That great destruction of their people. Y'all know I can't say it, right? Because of reasons or what. We know who control all this stuff, man. The wicked elite, man. They control all this. So when you who I mean, it's clear that when you can't speak and say certain things about certain people on the internet, then it's clearly that we know that who's in control, and this is why they are using America, the whore, Babylon, which is confusion, which is America, daughter of Babylon, to what? For a purpose, and that purpose is to destroy the overall system, which is the beast, right? That they have what accumulated and built over what over these um, decades, and putting alliances together for what? For a purpose, and keeping a certain level of respect, mainly for who? For those for America be over them, right? Because America has always been at high regard, right? Admiration, love, because that's the mystery of the woman, the whore, which is the beast, which is the system, which ties into what? Those 10 horns, you know, right? And that beast, and we know that well, I won't say we can't say what we know. The beast that thou saw was what? Was not it? What is it? The beast that thou saw was and is not, and shall ascend out of the what? Out of the bottomless pit. That's the beast, which is Europe, by way of what? Of Spain. You know what? I'm gonna read through Revelation 17, but the main point is Revelation 17 and verse 16 concerning the 10 horns which thou sawest. Said what? Upon the beast these shall hate the whore, man, which is America. This is what's transpired, and it's going to escalate at the time. I mean, we're closer than what people realize. For those of you all understand and have that understanding, that true understanding concerning the system and the beast and its allies, and the control and the separation of their allies, and what we're going to lead to what? Their destruction.
Emblems worth in their war with Russia, which makes no sense at all. None.
That is something that didn't get much. It did get a little bit of press, but the significance seem to be lost on people. I guess because they're like, no, I can't acknowledge that, because then that would mean we can't support Zelensky because he seems okay with it. But I'll tell you one person that's not okay with it, and going back to that interview with Viktor Orban, he was also asked specifically about what chances does the Ukraine army, with the SS or not, what chance do they have?
European politics intellectually is very sophisticated, but what they are saying basically means that they would not like to have a peace just now. They would like to continue the war. They think, and they speak about it publicly, that we have to continue the war to support Ukraine more. The situation will improve on the front line, and we will have a better circumstances or preconditions for negotiation. Wrong, totally wrong. Not to speak about geopolitics and human dimension, economically and financially is just crazy. We finance a country which has no chance to win the war, but at the same time there's a high level of corruption.
Yeah, now obviously that issue with corruption has exploded since he made those comments. You mentioned at the outset, one of Zelensky's right-hand men has been caught and is now somewhere in hiding, and it's still very...
He's in Israel, along with another one. They both fled to Israel. They will be safe there.
For now. But if Zelensky falls, it's unclear how long they're going to protect him.
Oh, listen, I think they're going to be safe. Remember the gentleman who was a pedophile who was caught out in Las Vegas? I can't remember his name now, but it turns out He was an Israeli citizen, and he was flown immediately to Israel, where he has stayed and is safe and will never be extradited. No, I think the Jewish state will remain a haven for Jews, regardless of what they do anywhere else in the world. And that's certainly true for the two gentlemen that whose names escape me. One I think is Mindich or something.
Yeah, Mindich, yeah.
And the other one I can't remember his name, but at some point Zelensky will probably pack it in and go there as well.
These people are the fornicators of the earth, man. And now the world sees their level of wickedness, and now the people is not an influence as they used to be influenced with the wickedness of these devils in their lives. Because now why? Because Americans had a bad habit of turning their heads to wickedness and evil that is done to other people. Now that wickedness is in the backyards of American citizens, which is so-called white people. Now they want what? Now they want the and this is spiritual, man. That the Heavenly Father said that in the days of days to come, with that Genesis God damn it, concerning Judah being what going to he gonna work in other words, the Heavenly Father going to have the spirit of Judah, which is the so-called blacks, right? Which is the head tribe of all the tribes. Judah, what that is, 40. But not to change the whole argument of what I'm going into concerning. I mean, but everything ties into one another, right? In dealing with, well, that's 49. That's what I want, which is Genesis 49 and verse 7, which is Judah. A lion's whelp from Judah 49 and 8, right? Judah thou art he whom thou brethren shall praise. Thy hand shall be in the neck of thy enemies. Thy fathers shall what? Children shall bow down. So in other words, the reason I brought this scripture out is that the spirit of Jake, when I say Jake, I'm talking about so-called black people in America. They have what? They have turned the cheek, in especially Eve, even Eve. Not because Eve used to be the first one to march and be in mass numbers and supporting whatever Esau Edom got going. Even they are being what? Now they are feeling the strains of this wicked place, and the system don't have its back like it used to. So they are what? They are turning their back concerning supporting what? The system. So all of this stuff here ties into what? Of the elite breaking down the system, which is that beast, right? That they created for what? For a purpose, and that purpose is New World Order, MOTB. That's what it is, right? Buy or sell, rich or poor. Receive what? A mark, which is that microchip, man. So this is where we at. So this is why prophecy is speaking, and it's speaking loud in the end times.
Well, yeah, because I was going to say, then I'm talking to some folks who are on the ground in Kiev or have access there, and they're saying he is literally at risk. This could knock him out when nothing else do it. So apparently he's not as safe as many in the West may think, even with all these announcements.
Well, a lot of people have waited for him to be subjected to the Mussolini treatment.
We're on our fourth print.
Y'all go, y'all. Those that have understanding concerning that.
That may yet come. Who knows? He is distant from his own population. What no one here in the West is told, and you can only hear this from people who are on the ground over there, or Poland, or in Russia. There are some Germans that will tell you this. I think one of them is named Baba. This is a German journalist. I listened to him, and he said the same thing. The population has turned decisively against this war with Russia. They know this has to end before there's anything left. I mean, that's where they're headed right now. And the other thing is that Ukrainians living in the western part of Ukraine are also coming around.
America don't give a damn about no damn Ukraine. You know, anytime they fight and they go come against, what they gonna lose? Would they lose? Would they have already lost, right? You know, in the past 2 years, we say 3 years or whatever, America been lying and saying that Ukraine is gaining this and gaining that. They have never gained anything, and ever since Russia released that horrific form of nuclear missile, what happened? America seized these missiles and they're what? They're like, damn, you see that? I mean, they're falling like lightning, man. And you think anybody wants to be? That's why Europe, you know, Trump tried to get the Europe to what? To fight Russia. They're not doing that because they fear Russia before and they know that they can't deal with. They right up there by Russia. So guess what? They're gonna be the first one to get hit and get destroyed. Hey, Russia God is a God over the East, man. And you know Putin is laying back and he's just watching it, and he ain't running his mouth because he's putting in the work that need to be put in first and foremost for the Lord, y'all. This is what the world don't understand and can't see because it's not part of this spiritual awakening concerning the destruction of what that I said 17, which is 17:1, and there came what? One of the seven angels which had the seven vials and talked with me, saying unto me, that's Apostle John, come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore. Huh? That's America, man. That sitteth upon many waters, which is people. That's America it goes into what? America, have not America influenced nations worldwide for whatever purpose that they need them for? Yeah, they have influenced them to do what? For that purpose. For whatever wickedness. Nothing but wickedness spur out through all that what is it? We'll say fornication. Right? And that damn, what the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for I'm a loss of words concerning. I'm trying to find let me see. Damn. Anyway, that's what we're in because America, the whore is to be what? Is to be stoned. And it's going to get just that. It's going to be nothing. It's going to be leveled like no other. With whom the kings of the earth have what? Had committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth have been what? Have made drunk with what? With the wine. And that goes into what? All of these false doctrine, the policies, you know, America signing of what? Of all of these agreements, and then turn around to do what? Now, I'm lost of word. Trying to think of precepts and that process in the same process of running my mouth. Well, anyway, I mean that's all part of what? Prophesying. Drunk with the wine of her what? Of her fornication. So, you know, all the wickedness that America has had pushed throughout the earth, and NATO and EU being involved in that, what happened? Let's go over here for a minute. Let me show you something here. Now, this U.S. unveils new defense strategy, right? Let's see. Let's listen to this for a minute. I'm going to go back over there, right? Listen to this here.
He draws its defense red lines. From the Arctic to South America, Washington is sending a clear message. The Western Hemisphere comes first. The U.S. Department of War has released its new National Defense Strategy, naming the protection of U.S. interests across the entire Western Hemisphere as its top priority. The department will therefore prioritize doing just that, including by defending America's interests throughout the Western Hemisphere, the document reads. According to the updated strategy, the U.S. will no longer cede access or influence over key terrain in the Western Hemisphere, from the Arctic all the way to South America. The document says, and I quote, DOW will therefore provide the President with credible options to guarantee U.S. military and commercial access to key terrain from the Arctic to South America, especially Greenland, the Gulf of America, and the Panama Canal. We will ensure that the Monroe Doctrine is upheld in our time. The document also makes it clear America's focus is shifting. The U.S. plans to concentrate on defending its own territory and prioritizing the Indo-Pacific region.
So what he said earlier, that they would, that he calling Europe and French, the Frenchmen and all of them, they calling them what? UK calling them what? Cowards, right? Because they don't want, they're not trying to start a war with Putin. They can't deal with Putin, and they scared, right? Actually, and they know what will take place with their what Putin will destroy all that shit up there, man. And you know, America has always been, again, you know, held high regard and being what, and being what's that, the 17 Revelation 17:7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou what? Marvel. I will tell thee the mystery of the whore and of the beast. That's America, one and the same, that carry her, which has the what? The 7 heads and 10 horns, which is EU. You're seeing what? You're seeing the prophecy taking great measures in what? In the 10 horns which thou sawest, what? Upon the beast there shall hate the whore. This is what you are seeing. And it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time before it all becomes a ball over like like a pimple. And if, when it pop, America's gonna be what? It's gonna reach its limits, and what? Where the law is going to do what? And within 1 hour destroy this place, man. And it's what? It's, hey man, you know, right now, you know, some of this stuff you can't go into and take everything for face value, because, you know, some of these things are strategic, and these devils are very crafty with their movements and what they're transpiring and trying to do. And it's going to work to a degree until what they're doing is going to work until the Lord, until they try to what? To come against the prophets, man. That's when they're gonna find out. But again, one of the main prophecies that we're waiting for and waiting on is what? Is them to implement that buy and sell. Right? Revelation 13. So once that get implemented concerning both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their hand, which is the microchip, which is the charagma, that's what we are waiting for. And so once that is pushed to the level of for the majority of the people have it, because soon that American money that y'all holding on to, it's gonna be used for what? Used for burning the fire, man. Trying to keep warm. Ain't gonna be no good. Everything going to digital. Stay tuned.
Region, meaning reduced assistance to allies elsewhere. It states, and I quote, as U.S. forces focus on homeland defense and the Indo-Pacific, our allies and partners elsewhere will take primary responsibility for their own defense with critical...
See there? Our allies and partners will take for their own defense. That meaning that what? they allies, they're supposed to be what? In a coalition, which is the European Union and what? In NATO.
But more limited support from American forces. The newly released U.S. defense strategy frames Russia's nuclear arsenal as the world's largest and insists the U.S. must have guaranteed access to Greenland, even as it claims the strategy is not a strategy of isolation. Russia is named as a persistent threat to NATO's eastern flank. The document also flags nuclear risks elsewhere. Iran may seek nuclear weapons by refusing to engage in.
And there are several videos that are being pushed out. I don't know if y'all seen it or not, right? But there are several videos being pushed out that I think I did a video on it about a week ago concerning their which is European Union reaching out to Russia and not allowing America to be the lead voice for them. They themselves said that they are going to reach out to Russia for an agreement concerning whatever. So that goes to what? That goes the European Union / NATO being what? Coming into, hey, who knows? Who knows who's gonna within the next weeks to come, who's to say some of their allies, American allies, because America is just wiping their hands with what? With their allies. And they're what? They're joining forces with Russia, which is what? End time prophecy.
Meaningful negotiations. North Korea's nuclear forces are described as a direct threat to Washington. The strategy says this shift will allow President Trump to set the country on a course to sustain peace through strength for decades to come. That responsibility now falls squarely on America's allies. U.S. allies in Europe, the Middle East, and on the Korean Peninsula are expected to take primary responsibility for their own security. The department will prioritize strengthening incentives for allies and partners to take primary responsibility for their own defense in Europe, the Middle East, and on the Korean Peninsula.
So in other words, we ain't fighting with you anymore. So what does that mean? Allies are supposed to fight together. When one go to war, they what? It's world war, right? Now it's what? You defend your own, we defend our own.
Critical but limited support from U.S. forces. The document acknowledges that Washington previously allowed allies to underinvest in defense. Certainly, it was their own decision to underinvest in their respective defenses, but it was a decision often encouraged by past U.S. policymakers. Fortunately, that is over now. As President Trump has made clear, our allies and partners must shoulder their fair share of the burden of our collective defense. Ukraine also features prominently. Washington believes responsibility for resolving the Ukraine conflict lies primarily with Europe. On China, the strategy strikes a different tone. The long-term U.S. policy does not include attempts to change China's government or pursue direct conflict. The strategy highlights the growing global importance of the Indo-Pacific and...
Real quick, y'all, let me go down here for a minute. Right? Because let me see what the people say, because I got some see. Robin says this feels like a coup. NATO, let me see, Abu Baker say, Bakar, should I say, NATO helped U.S. destroy nations and created refuge. Exactly. Okay, so you see, absolutely right. Right? And Brian, let me see, Fleur, y'all these names, y'all, says, well, Britain and France especially colonized many countries for over a century. And now these people from their former colonies came and retook what these imperialists stole from them in the past. That is common. So I guess they're speaking about Africa, taken back and running them out of y'all. I know you seen. I know y'all seen the video when they were getting rid of the Frenchmen and leading in Russia. Well, that's too much. That's too much to even go into, right? Let's just read on. Southeast says Africa forever poor, even the what with over 100 years the what the teachers and settlers and some world class manufacturing up to the mid 90s see no one even talks about colonialism there. Yeah, this is what has been going on for what for decades, right? Even for centuries, right? That these people, especially in America, they turn their heads to wickedness that has been done to anyone, long as it's not done to them. Now, the volume has been turned up on so-called white people, and they are they're allies, and they are clashing, and that clash is gonna reveal prophecy, because prophecy is going to unfold just like the scriptures say, just like the prophets speak concerning America being detached from all its allies, and it joining up with who? Russia, which is God in the scriptures to for a purpose, and that purpose is of destroying America and / Israel. He reads further, say the form of government, schools and road signs, baguette, airports, GI tourist designation running for over 50 years peacefully. All national treasure, because like I say, every empire, right, major empire, right, lasted for what? For 250 years of these nations. All national treasure and no bad, and America that is the end. They just celebrated 250 not too long ago, right? Bad word about French, Dutch, German, and British. They are leading up and coming economies, and if individuals are moving west, they start their own business overnight. Africans, not so much, always on the hand or produce nothing where they can call home, and where they going to. Why do you think C is making complex products of the world, and the rivals of the West, Africa, is slum? Because they taking all of they was taking all the resources out of it. What? I mean, how can you have that many resources in your country, and you not be have a world power? Because of colonization, right? And then they're not helping anything. But let America and its allies tell you that they're being a protector. And they'll stick one of their puppets up in there to make sure it's done properly. And where they go, it becomes a slum. Both continents had colonizers, and wars. They are not learning a thing or able to improve their lives no matter what they do. Yeah. Southeast says, well, it can be argued the kings, sheik, and dictators expelled their own useless people at gunpoint after Democrat dreams started to ignite a protest instigated by the West. Now, MAGA, Democrat, Republican, now they're seeming to see the writing on the wall. They're not about no damn. I mean, you still got a bunch of some nuts out there that are pushing that Democrat and Republic thing, but for the most part, that shit is broken up, man. Right? Because the people are beginning to see that that no matter who you ride with, it's turning. I mean, whoever you got up in there, they're gonna bring. I mean, um, in other words, whoever you bring up in there, what's going to take place? The same results, man. No matter who's in there. But I don't think anybody else gonna come up in there. I think Trump is the last and final end of Babylon, which is America, man. He further says, Southeast says, all the unwanted scum and opposition ended up in the West. They did not come to the West because they liked the locals and are fond integrate and immigrate. Basically, the same troublemakers where they came from flourish in the West and dancing everybody around for 30 years. Some are now well-funded extremists living at the expense of a weak and dumb host nations. And who's more dumber than the American citizens? Trump is the agent of change here. He will address what needs to be done and win. Huh? Why is that? Because Trump is what that is, Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 19 and verse 4. He's that cruel Lord that the scriptures speak about. And cruel Lord slash what is it? Fierce king shall they would over that fierce king in the scripture concerning that's Trump. And he's going to they're going to, let me see, Scott says what debt, it's not our debt. The Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. It should have never been in existence. Our money is supposed to be backed by gold or silver, which is right. The Federal Reserve, which is the the notes, which is the money, which is the FRN, which is Federal Reserve notes, the money that we use to buy things. You never have enough money to buy most of the things that you want, and what does that create? Create debt. That's the whole system. The money debt, silver in the Federal Reserve fiat currency that was fraudulently put against the American people against their will. We don't owe them nothing. It's not even real money. It's paper. But who makes this what that is? What that scripture is? Habakkuk 2:6 concerning that thick clay, what goes into, hold on, let me see if I find it right quick. Debt, and this scripture actually goes perfect with the lining of what I'm going into, because in the process of them conquering and taking and gathering people together, and them gathering people together for what? For the New World Order. Okay, verse 5, which is Habakkuk 2:5. Ye also because he transgresseth by wine. And that goes into what? Policies, right? Philosophies. These things are what? Was for a purpose, and that purpose has come to an end because now the spirit of the Lord, which is the prophet's mouth, is creating a what? Creating a void, and the people are saying, "Damn, they wasn't lying. Them guys that's preaching on the street, they wasn't lying. They said that everything that's taking place at this present moment, and that's going on in the earth, what had taken place? The ye also because have transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, meaning the grave or death." Now they'll come up against the people because America has to. Now American citizens have guns. Hey man, it's gonna get real bad over here, right? Because these people these so-called white people in America, they got millions of rounds of weapons, man, and they have man, they have an arsenal, man. A lot of these crackers got a lot of weapons, man, big guns too. For what? For the protection of what? Of oneself. They've been waiting on this for a long time. Y'all don't realize how many preppers it is in America. It said It said they're proud, and man neither keep it at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. So Trump is still pushing because they want it all, right? Because they know Revelation 12:12, they got a short time. It's running out. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a proverb against him? And that's it. And that goes Obadiah 1 7 goes into their allies. Hold up. Obadiah 7, which is all the men of thy confederacy, right, have brought thee unto the border. That's going to be the time of what? Of war. And that confederacy goes into what? European Union / NATO, which is their allies. Which they're what? Which is, you see, is what? It's splitting up from the whore, which is America. Have brought thee unto the border, that the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Nothing but total utter confusion. Isaiah 24 and verse 10, the city of confusion. So this place is being what? Being torn down from the inside out. And it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And listen a little more. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish verse 6. Shall not all these take up a proverb against him? Because I'm purposely coming over here concerning debt, that thick clay. And a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to what? To him that increaseth that which is not his. Right? What's not his? They're doing what? They're taking by force presidents, kidnapping the Venezuela president and his wife for what? For a purpose, and they're taking it by force, which is using their military. That increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that what? That ladeth himself with thick clay. And that thick clay goes into what? Debt. Which is H 5671 goes into a bet, right? Concerning what? Debt. That's the what made me go into it. This guy down here said went into, and he was spoke on debt. What debt is in our debt, the Federal Reserve, right? So this place is just printing money and getting deeper and deeper in debt, because you can't just keep printing money and allowing. You know, America has been declining for some time now, but they're able to just print money and to keep pushing. That's why they're little do people know, within the ending of 2025, this place was in real bad shape. That's why Trump made the move that he made. But the world is not aware of those things because they don't do any work. They don't do any research. All they do is blame, point fingers, Democrat or Republicans.
And access to the region. The goal is simply to ensure that neither China nor anyone else can dominate us or our allies. This does not require regime change or some other existential struggle. On future warfare, the focus is technology. The Department of War will prioritize systems to counter unmanned aerial vehicles and modern aerial threats. It says, and I quote, We will develop and deploy capabilities to counter unmanned aerial systems and ensure access to the electromagnetic spectrum required to defend the homeland. The nuclear deterrent remains central. The United States requires a strong, secure, and effective nuclear arsenal. The United States should never, will never, be left vulnerable to nuclear blackmail.
Describe is how.
But they can nuclear blackmail others, right? Huh? Make it up.
And reset.
Make up and demonize China, Russia. He gonna keep that pushing that narrative because it sounds good, right? Because they're what? It works with most of these idiots over here in America, blaming that's just like they blame it. In minute they blame one another. Now you see them again coming up against one another. Well, you niggas are not safer than what you think, because soon as Esau eat them, that blood spilled over until to themselves. They're gonna turn them same guns on you Negroes. So you're gonna get it. Esau got stockpiles of what of food and weaponry for a purpose, and that purpose is what? To survive as long as he can with his blessing, which is that gun that most of you Negroes don't have, right? You have, but not enough of.
A hemispheric focus and a clear warning to allies and adversaries alike.
U.S. President Donald Trump has openly questioned NATO's commitment to America and floated a move never attempted before, invoking NATO's core security clause for U.S. border enforcement. What began as frustration over Greenland has now escalated into a fundamental challenge to the meaning of collective defense. U.S. President Donald Trump reignited tensions with NATO, this time by suggesting...
Why did he do that? Remember NATO sent them troops over there in Greenland for this so-called protection, right? And what happened? Trump ran them out of there. That's what they did.
The United States
did a video on it.
States should have invoked the alliance's most sacred clause, Article 5, to address illegal immigration at the southern border. In a Truth Social post, Trump said the U.S. missed an opportunity to put NATO to the test.
America is the only one that can break treaties. Everybody else got to uphold their treaties that they make with America, but America can do what? Can break their treaties.
Arguing that an influx of undocumented migrants amounted to an invasion, language that would, in theory, trigger a collective military response under NATO rules. Article 5 is the foundation of NATO. It states that an armed attack against one member is considered an attack against all. It is
not anymore. They're talking about that outside of America, right? This is what's taking place. That you are seeing now the prophecy unfolding again and going to take place concerning and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, ancient Rome / NATO, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate. How is he going to make her desolate? With nuclear destruction. And naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. That's the what is about to transpire. I'm gonna play a little more of it, about 5 more minutes of it or so, 5-10 more minutes, and I'm gonna hit these couple precepts, man. I'm gonna close this out. I can't go through this whole thing.
Been formally invoked only once, after the September 11th attacks on the United States. Applying it to border enforcement would represent an unprecedented reinterpretation of collective defense. Trump's remarks followed growing friction with European allies over his renewed push to acquire Greenland. At Davos, he argued that ownership, not leases or partnerships, was essential for Arctic defense, while accusing NATO of benefiting more from U.S. protection than it provides in return. The problem with NATO, Trump said, is we'd be there for them 100%, but I'm not sure they'd be there for us. The comment landed heavily in European capitals, already uneasy about Washington's direction.
We want strong allies, not seriously weakened ones. We want Europe to be strong. Ultimately, these are matters of national security, and perhaps no current issue makes the situation more clear.
He wanted NATO, he wanted the European Union / NATO to go in war with what? With Russia, and they wasn't going to do that. They no fool. They know they sit too close to Russia, and Russia can hit them like that, huh? That and you know something he himself is afraid to do, huh? They're not gonna do that. So this is gonna make him what? What they can say, U.S. unveils defense strategy, right? It say dumps Israel, South Korea, European allies. Won't protect. So, but again, you know, can't take everything for face value concerning, especially with Israel. Israel and the United States, they're going to be together and they're going to go down together, right? In the end, because Iran is going to take a foothold in that garbage over there too, because it's going to be what? That's prophecy. This is what prophecy is all about, and we're going to see, and just like I'm reading concerning the 10 horns and European / NATO, which is the 10 horns, it's going to take place and going to be just like that. And a lot of you are not going to see it until what? Until that hour. That hour, which is what? The destruction of Babylon, which is America.
Then what's
the great judgment of the whores, along with what? With you wicked 2/3 of what? Or you Israelites, right along with your enemies, you're all gonna receive the same judgment, which is death by fire.
Currently going on with Greenland. Would you like me to say a few words of Greenland? I was going to leave it out of the speech, but I think I would have been reviewed very negatively. I have tremendous respect for both the people of Greenland and the people of Denmark. Tremendous respect. Yeah. But every NATO ally has an obligation to be able to defend their own territory. And the fact...
How you respect these people, you trying to go in there and take their shit, right? Take their land. Come on, man. The devil speak with a forked tongue, man.
Is no nation or group of nations is in any position to be able to secure Greenland other than the United States. We're a great power, much greater than people even understand. I think they found that out 2 weeks ago in Venezuela. We saw this in World War II, when Denmark fell to Germany after just 6 hours of fighting and was totally unable to defend either itself or Greenland. So the United States was then compelled, we did it, we felt an obligation to do it, to send our own forces to hold the Greenland territory. And hold it we did, at great cost and expense. They didn't have a chance of getting on it, and they tried. Denmark knows that. We literally set up bases on Greenland for Denmark.
It's amazing how Trump just put words in people's mouths, and I mean, this devil just say anything, right? That's Daniel 7:20, and the 10 horns that were in his head were in his head of the other, which is a miracle, which came up, and before whom 3 fell. 3 wars: Great Britain, France, Spain. Even of that horn that had eyes, a miracle, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And that's what he's doing. He's looking down on what? On others, including what? Their allies. This is what Trump is doing at this present moment. And you're going to see what? Even more and more of what? Of that stoutness and them looking down on what? Their allies. Because soon they're going to what? They're going to separate completely as a whole from what? From America, which is the whole.
Denmark We fought for Denmark. We weren't fighting for anyone else. We were fighting to save it for Denmark. Big, beautiful piece of ice. It's hard to call it land. It's a big piece of ice. But we saved Greenland and successfully prevented our enemies from gaining a foothold in our hemisphere. So we did it for ourselves also. And then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that?
Imagine being.
Boy, I tell you. Hey, man, I mean, for those of you all know, you know.
But we did it.
What happened? How did you manage to convince President Trump to U-turn on?
Well, again, this issue did not come up anymore last night, and I think what we discussed is the goal. What do we want to achieve? And his vision, when he was Trump 45, again with Trump 47, clearly leading the way. He is the leader of the free world. If he is worried about something, hey, we'd better listen, because then he might have found something which is not good. And that is this issue of the Russians and the Chinese getting more and more access, because the sea lanes are opening up. We know there are 7 Arctic countries in NATO. That's the US, because of Alaska, that's Canada, and then 5 in Europe. And the 8th one is Russia. And we don't want the Russians to get access to our part of the Arctic. Plus, we have China.
See, he's pushing that same narrative for what? For a purpose. And that purpose is to create that narrative concerning China and Russia making a foothold in what? In Denmark. Which is BS. But that's what they're gonna stick with. Just like they're sticking with the narrative concerning Venezuelans who are pushing drugs and making the community of America sick with their drugs. He's a big drug dealer.
China, which is not an Arctic country, but which is more and more active there in that region. So it's a sort of informal 9th Arctic member. And he was always clear on this in my conversations with him. I think yesterday we focused on that aim, that goal. How can we prevent that from happening? And how can NATO collectively, under US leadership, as always, because the US is by far the biggest nation in NATO, how can we do this? I would say to my colleagues in NATO, let's focus on what we have to focus on. 2 things are crucial now. One is to implement the decisions at the summit in The Hague. The spending going up, equalizing with the US, getting the defense industrial base going. By the way, this is also an issue.
See, these devils are always gonna push. They're gonna go to Colonel Douglas McGregor. See, they always push the narrative and roll with the whore, which is America, for what? For a purpose of getting richer and being part of. But they're gonna find themselves gonna be in a terrible way with the whore, which is America, for what? And that because Trump and his allies, again, they are not going to see eye and eye with everything concerning, because they know once Trump start attacking allies, they know that they could be next on that list of being what? Trump just taking shit. And they don't want to do that. There's a little more of this here, and I'm going to close this out. This last piece said I'm going to close this out, man.
To understanding that whether we like it or not, that government that emerges after this war in Kiev must be friendly to Russia. If it isn't, the Russians will march all the way to where we are, right up to the border with Poland if necessary, to secure their country. We have never recognized Russia's legitimate national security interests in Poland, or excuse me, in Ukraine. Never done it. And we don't seem to understand, as a result, we, more than anybody else, are responsible for this bloodletting. You know, if there was a humanitarian bone in Donald Trump's body, on the basis of what's happened thus far, he would lower the boom and say, Mr. Zelensky, you're finished. You're out. However, I suspect that the same billionaires that are calling the shots in Washington in terms of policy towards the Middle East and towards Iran are also calling the shots in Ukraine. And these billionaires have decided that they want Zelensky there, and they want to continue doing whatever they can to harm Russia. That's their agenda. That's not an American agenda.
Yeah.
That's what the billionaires want. And I think more and more people are coming around to understanding the billionaires really are in charge. You know, they own the house.
No, the elite is in charge. The elite is in charge. That's an illusion that's pushed forth that narrative for what? For to keep the wicked elite hidden from the overall of being escaping and not being put forth out in front by using certain people, which is so-called billionaires like what's that joker name is? I'm talking about deleting him and his wife. Talking about deleting. Y'all know who I'm talking about. And deleting the bulk of the population for a purpose. Damn, what his name is? I can't think of the name right now. Got too much that's going on. So I'm a little tired anyway. I'm trying to close this out at a good point.
They own the Senate. They own the White House. Gaining ground has always been much less important to the Russians than destroying the Ukrainian forces. And this is a problem we have in the mentality of the United States Armed Forces. You and I have seen this in action. We've got to go out there and gain ground and then cleanse the ground behind us of all potential enemy. When the real focus should always be the destruction of the enemy. Once the enemy's forces are gone, there's not a great deal that can be done to stop you from doing anything. That's where the Russians are right now. They've destroyed, for all intents and purposes, the Ukrainian armed forces, and now we're going to ship more things over there. Who's going to use them?
You know, with AI, you can create...
Destroy. Destroy them. They ain't never had a fight. Right? No matter what they ship over there from America for Ukraine to fight, they ain't never had a foothold in controlling that fight against Russia. Russia been always been actually not they Putin has something that America and Israel don't have. He has a little compassion for the people. He don't want just to lead all the people, just blow them to the smithereen. But them devils over there in America / Israel, they don't give a shit. They will blow any and everything. You seen it? Look at Gaza.
Who's going to be trained to use them? Well, that's a question nobody answers. And remember that 40 to 50% of everything we send over there ends up on the black market. If they can do it, they'll do it. I mean, we've got people running around with Javelin missile systems in Mexico in the cartel. So God knows where half of this equipment ends up.
Yeah, we don't want to find out the hard way. You mentioned there about this 1%. That was actually Ambassador Whitaker, who said that Russia hadn't made any progress, so really we don't need to worry about it. Here's how he put it.
In the last 18 months, Russia has gained about 1% of Ukrainian land.
Mm-hmm. I mean, see, here's the lies. This is what they do. This is what they do. Right? Just lie and keep lying, continue to lie, and continue to lie, continue to lie. And Russia has what?
And they're making no success. They're losing thousands of soldiers every single day, and way too many, private citizens in Ukraine and the big cities are being injured. So I think this is a great next step in finally ending this war. But again, if Vladimir Putin wants to continue to fight on the battlefields of Ukraine, the United States of America will sell Europe armaments so that they can be used by Ukraine to defend themselves.
But what happened when he tried to get his allies to to actually go in there and fight with Ukraine, send all of them up in there? They said no. They're not finna be obliterated by Russia. They said no. So I'm gonna stop it here, man. Y'all don't watch this here. It's on the technical creative channel. You see it down there, right? Germany leave NATO and what in the EU? Zelensky flees. Right? Alliance has collapsed. And I'm going to read in 17, Revelation 17:16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest, should I say, upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Now you should know by now, much as we push the 10 horns concerning it being the European Union and NATO, and the whore is America, right? because in the beast, which is the system, which is the general makeup of what of a system that is created when a country is coming to what power and authority. That system is the beast that they created for what, for their purpose, for a form of what, civilization, or control of what. Now the control that they're coming in now is what, it's a further foothold into what, your privacy. That's no such thing gonna be as privacy anymore, because part of your not receiving privacy like you used to is gonna be in your body, right? These devils gonna know when you take a shit, when you fart, when you do whatever you take a piss. They're gonna know you're doing it. How are they gonna do that? By technology with what? The MOTB. Verse 17. For God has put in their heart, meaning the other nations, right? Put in their heart to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of thy power shall be fulfilled. Which is what? Which is prophecy. That's prophecy. So the prophecy is going to unfold and it's going to take place just like the prophets are prophesying and warning your people and telling you all that America will be destroyed. And along with America being destroyed, all the enemies of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, which is the wicked 2/3, first and foremost, and their allies, which is what? Which is the true Gentile, which is the other nations outside of the children of Israel. They all are going to receive judgment from the Heavenly Father, which is death by fire, which is the second death. So that norm say, call halal Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah Kudash, Shalom.